Hello, dear friends. Today we will address a subject that has been discussed for a long time, UFO disclosure. Shall we talk about it?
I really want you to let that question sink in for a second. We're well past the days of blurry photos and late-night conspiracy theories, right? We are quite literally standing at the edge of a massive shift in how we understand our reality, our history, and our entire place in the cosmos. So this explainer isn't just going to recap the news. We're going on a deep, reflective journey that dives way beyond the surface-level headlines popping up on your feeds.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, the limits of known science. Second, military budgets and unknown skies. Third, surviving the information storm. Fourth, beyond the physical archipelago. And finally, number 5, the inner and outer disclosure.
Let's jump right into Chapter 1, the limits of known science.
Now, let's look at this contrast. On the left side, we've got what our current science can easily explain. And yes, absolutely, some of the things flying around up there are just weather balloons or regular human-made drones. Even the most highly trained pilots with the best sensors on Earth can sometimes mistake a balloon for something exotic. But look over at the right side. We have thoroughly documented accounts of objects accelerating completely silently without any sonic booms, maneuvering in perfect T formations, and seemingly breaking the fundamental laws of aerodynamics. The really crucial point I want you to take away here is this. Just because we don't currently have a public, scientifically verified explanation for these objects, it doesn't mean the phenomenon isn't true. A lack of public proof is absolutely not a lack of truth. It just means our science hasn't caught up to it yet.
Moving on to Chapter 2, military budgets and unknown skies. Imagine a heavily fortified fortress. This represents the most powerful military forces on our planet. Look at the staggering number, over $700 billion. That colossal figure represents the annual military budget of a major global superpower. And yet, even with this frankly unimaginable amount of funding, these fortresses cannot secure their own skies from unknown visitors. Now, some people will try to brush these objects off by saying, oh, it's just secret earthly technology, probably from a rival nation. But stop and think about that for a second. If a rival nation possesses technology that can completely bypass a multi-hundred-billion-dollar defense system with zero consequences, that is a massive geopolitical issue. It basically means the fortress has no roof.
And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates why the popular myth of reverse engineering alien craft is so flawed. Let me give you a quick parable. Imagine sending a modern supersonic jet fighter back in time and dropping it into an ancient empire, maybe 2,000 years ago. Do you think they could reverse engineer it? Step 1, they wouldn't have the foundational base of modern physics. Step 2, they wouldn't know the first thing about the chemistry of aviation fuel or advanced alloys. So step 3, it would just eventually become a rusted metal relic. You simply cannot reverse engineer a technology if your civilization hasn't even discovered the basic physical laws that make it work. It's a leap too far.
This brings us to a fascinating realization. We're currently living in a season of bilateral disclosure. You see, the truth isn't just coming out smoothly. It's rising through two competing currents. One current is genuine official revelation. The other is a totally manipulated narrative designed specifically to steer our reactions. Which leads us to Chapter 3, Surviving the Information Storm.
Navigating today's media landscape is exactly like trying to survive a massive typhoon. So let's use this to find our inner anchor amidst all that wind and rain. How do you tell the difference between what's real and what's noise? Take a look at the left side. Fear-based or fake news hits you like a sudden violent gust of wind. It's designed to create panic, demand that you depend on someone else for safety, and it rapidly changes its story to keep you completely off balance. It survives by dividing us. But now look at the right side. Genuine disclosure feels entirely different. It's empowering, it's steady, it's corroborated by multiple independent sources over time, and most importantly, it builds your personal sovereignty. True facts make you feel grounded, not panicked.
So, how do we practically survive this typhoon of information? Well, here are your survival steps. First, implement the 72-hour rule. When a shocking story breaks, just take a breath and wait. Let the initial chaos blow over. Fake stories tend to burn out incredibly quickly while the truth remains steady. Second, seek out the primary sources. Look at the actual documents or the raw footage yourself, rather than just listening to someone shouting about it online. Third, absolutely refuse to amplify fear. And finally, step up and become the stabilizing presence for your community. Be the calm center of the storm for your friends and family.
This brings us to Chapter 4, Beyond the Physical Archipelago. Read this definition with me. Ultraterrestrial. We so often think of aliens purely as physical beings flying metal ships from point A to point B in our universe. But what if reality is so much grander than that? Ultraterrestrial life suggests existence way beyond our rigid three-dimensional universe, encompassing spiritual realms and entirely higher frequencies of existence.
Let me use an everyday example that I absolutely love. Imagine a vast archipelago, a really beautiful cluster of islands scattered across the ocean. From our little boat on the surface, all we see are isolated pieces of land. But if we dive beneath the water, we suddenly realize those islands are actually the peaks of massive interconnected mountain ranges. Our 3D physical world is just that surface layer. The ultra-terrestrial reality is the immense connected mountain range beneath the water. The spiritual and higher dimensions are the actual foundation that weaves all of existence together, even if we usually only see the peaks poking through the waves.
And now for our final chapter, Chapter 5, the inner and outer disclosure.
You see, this whole unveiling journey isn't just about what governments are doing. It is deeply about what is happening inside of us. Look at the two sides of this disclosure. The outer disclosure gives us the declassified documents, the strange phenomena in the skies, and the big institutional admissions. It's loud, it's highly public. But the inner disclosure, that is quiet. It is the awakening of our collective memory, the process of finding inner stillness amidst all the noise, and recognizing our own spiritual resonance. If we only focus on the outer events, we're basically just trading one set of external authorities for another. But when we focus on the inner disclosure, we awaken our own true sovereign power. And honestly, this is exactly where you come in. Think of the beautiful tradition of an entire community coming together to literally lift a house up on their shoulders and move it to a new location. When one person tries to lift it alone, there's no way. It's impossible. But when everybody shares the burden, the entire structure becomes lighter. The exact same thing is true for human consciousness. A single tuned string makes the silent strings around it vibrate. When you work to elevate your own heart and find your inner peace, you're actually helping to lift your entire community. You become this harmonic magnet, drawing the collective upward, moving humanity's house to a much better, more harmonious place.
Ultimately, this right here is the profound takeaway from our explainer today. If and when this full disclosure happens, it is going to be so much deeper than simply realizing there are biological beings on other planets. It's a fundamental shift. It's about completely, radically changing our conception of life, of death, and of the grand interconnected universe we inhabit. It's about remembering who we truly are beneath the surface of the water.
And what about you? Are you excited to know what else is coming? Do you think it's long before we discover that we are not alone in the universe? Describe your current thoughts in the comments and share the video with anyone who might need it. Gratitude for the company. See you next time.